slides, we have already known that the aerodynamic roughness coefficient, aerodynamic roughness coefficient is taken different for different category 1, that is less than 1.5 meter and 1.5 to 10 meter, 1.5 to 10 meter 0.02, and category 3 0.2, and category 4 0.4. I have listed all these values for calculation. And now come to the some technical term which will required after during the design calculations for the wind analysis. Suppose this is the source of the wind, and take as a reference point, and if we take it as a reference point, and the direction of any object which is towards the source is called the upwind direction, that means windward direction, and which is outward direction is called the leeward or downward direction, source from which wind is blowing. And now moving towards the source, the upwind speed, and moving in the direction and downward side. And now come to the development height, which we have not discussed earlier. What is development height up to which the wind adjusts itself to the development height, wind up to which the adjust itself with a new type of ground. That means whenever there is a change in the terrain category, there is some height also differs for different terrain categories. Suppose there is a terrain category 1 to terrain category 4, the change of terrain category also affects the wind direction and wind type due to frictional effect, due to obstacle effect. That's whatever be the reason. So wind wind up to a height it will adjust itself to the new type of ground. That means when from the first case, when wind is flowing over the terrain category 1, during the flowing over the terrain category 1, it will in the mode of terrain category 1. But whenever there is a change from terrain category 1 to terrain category 2, it will try to change itself to terrain category 2. So there is a high difference also happens between terrain category 1 and terrain category 2. So that's why it the how the wind type also changes. Let's discuss about it. The lower part of the wind, that means whenever the height is increases, the lower part also remain in the older condition itself of the ground surface, and upper part remain in the old terrain. Lower part of the wind adjusts itself from the ground roughness. Upper part of the part remember the old terrain. That means whenever there is a terrain wind travels from terrain category 1 to terrain category 4, then that from during the changing of terrain, that if the previous terrain is terrain category 1, the wind is in the mode of terrain category 1, and now it will travel over the terrain category 4. So in during some length it will be in the mode of terrain category 1. So long distance help to adjust a new terrain pattern. That means what? More the fetch length, there will be more room to change itself to the new terrain category. If the building height is more the developed height wind from the previous ground taken. If the building height is more than the developed height, wind from the previous ground is taken. Now IS 875 part 3 has mentioned a table for this. This is the table, And the fetch length and height depth relationship, the relationship between the depth, height hx and the fetch length for wind flow over the each of the four terrain may be taken as for structure of height more than the developed height in the more than the structure of heights more than the developed height hx in the table 3, the velocity profile may be determined in accordance with the following: less than uh, 1 is less than less or least rough terrain, or 2 is for 2 is for the method described in the annexer 4, annexer b. The serial here is the fetch length 0.2, the terrain category 1 12 developed height. Whatever be the terrain category, if terrain category the developed height is less than 12, so we have to take we have to calculate the velocity according to the previous terrain category. That means let us take this example. Suppose it will move, the fetch length is 0.2 and the terrain category height is 12 meter 12 meter. So wind is trying to move like this, and during this terrain category hx, this part here, the velocity of the wind may be depend upon the old terrain category, and this part is now new terrain category. Old terrain category means whatever be the rougher part. Suppose the terrain category is 0 point terrain category at fetch length 0.2, this is 12 meter and this is 20 meter, that means 8 meter height difference. So above 12 meter we have to calculate based upon the new terrain category, and below this is calculated upon the older terrain category. Now, Annexer B has mentioned how to calculate this. The lower, in case of transition from lower terrain category number corresponding to the lower terrain roughness to the higher terrain category, the velocity profile over the rougher terrain category should be determined as follows: below the terrain height, below the development height, below the development height, below the developed height, below the developed height, below the developed height, below the developed height. The velocity shall be determined in relation to the rougher terrain, and above the velocity to the less rough terrain, and higher to lower is the if it is below, the velocity shall be taken as the determined in accordance with the less rough terrain, and the velocity at the height determined in the rough terrain. That means rough terrain, and for above this the velocity shall be depend upon the rougher terrain. That means in case of low to high, low to high is depend upon the rougher terrain and greater than for smoother terrain. And in case for category 2 to 4, category category example, category less than that means below height the velocity should be, the velocity shall be determined depending upon the rougher terrain. That means if the developed height is less than hx, less than hx, that means if the developed height if the developed height is less than 12 meter, less than 12 meter, the velocity profile is depending upon the category 4. And if the velocity greater than 12 meter, the velocity profile is depending upon category 2, the more distant part. And this is the velocity profile in case of category 2. The wind is the velocity profile is determined, the velocity profile is determined that this part is based upon rougher side, rougher side velocity profile on the rougher side. That means according to the category 4, according to the category 4, and this part is determined based upon category 2. So this is the fetch length, and this is the developed height. This is the developed height, and uh, now less refer to the more rougher, the determined in relation for the below, the velocity determined based upon the rougher side, below based upon the rougher side, and determined based upon in relation to the less rougher. That means minimum, that means higher to lower. That means whenever there is a category 2 to category 2 to category 2 to category 4, category 4, category 2 to category 4, that means category 2 to category 4, the lower part is determined based upon the rougher side of the terrain. That means category 4 in this V4, and this is V2. And now higher to lower, for this case, velocity below hx is determined of the lesser determined according to the, this is not right, determined in accordance to the uh, minimum of the velocity in less rougher side. That means depends upon in accordance with the less rough terrain, and the velocity at height hx as determined in relation to the rougher terrain, and velocity at hx depending upon the rougher terrain. The minimum of both is taken as the higher to lower terrain. That means that means this is the higher part, this is the higher terrain, and this is the height hx, at hx the vhx is determined based upon the height and the velocity at category 4. this is 1 point, and this is VHX is equal to FB category 4. So minimum of these two is taken as whenever the wind flow to the rougher terrain to the less rougher terrain. Now, when wind flows through two, two or more terrain. So category 3 to 4, category 3 to 4, what we have learned, then whenever there is rougher to smoother, the profile used to be like this and that, and smoother to rougher is like this. That means for from category, suppose this is the graph, and this is 4 height, 1 height, just look at this picture. Look at this picture. From category 3, from category 3, category 1, and category 4. So whenever there is the category lower rougher to the higher rougher, that means this would be like this, and lower rougher to the higher rougher, this would be like this. And if category 4 to 1, 4 to 2, this would be like this, and 2 to 1, this would be like this. So these are the variation of wind direction depending upon the profile category, depending upon the terrain category. So we will continue to the next part.